I have a topic to talk about the soul is huge, wouldn't you say? It's huge. So, I did listen to some of the conversations going on, with the ministers about, well, what do you think about this seat of the soul? And as you know, I'm going to just hold this up. Gary Zukav wrote a book called The Seat of the Soul. And I have to say, I'm going to start with where I'm upset first. And then we'll work into how we can be unupset and inspire each other to go forth this week, okay? I have a beef to pick. Because there's a chapter 12 in his book called Soul. So of course I went there because I wanted to know, what do you mean by seat of the soul? Right? And so he says that each human being has a soul. And he goes on to talk about this human being and this soul. And what I do agree with, he's a great mind, right? He's been interviewed by Oprah and all the greats, right? He probably hangs out with Deepak. But I have a beef to pick with him, so you can just let him know I want to talk to him. Because really, he goes on to say, the soul process moves through degrees of awareness. Animals, for example, do not have individual souls. Yeah. You know what happened when I read that? I kept reading. And he went on to say that each animal is a part of a group soul. And I'm going to close this book right now because I got so upset by that. And I got so upset, and I'm going to throw it on the floor. Because I think we have to be very careful who we listen to. I think we have to be very careful who we accept as authority. And I think that has a relevancy to our pandemic. There is a lot of information coming in here, guys. I'm like a dispatcher. And then there's a lot of fact checking. But then you don't know who's fact checking. And then you got to fact check the fact checking. And then you got to, okay, you get the picture. The point is, how does he know that animals don't have souls? I'm sorry, but I don't agree with that. I think what happens here is that he's interpreting this piece that I do agree with, which is the soul is our creativity. The soul is that creates. The soul is that divine essence of who we are that goes on after our body dies. The soul is that direct link, that download, that link, right? You click that link and you've got your divine, infinite, magnificent self, and you can do anything there, right? You can accomplish anything. You can know everything. You've got access to the one mind. It's amazing. So he's judging this this animal soul because he thinks they're he thinks they're not creative, but he has not met my dogs. He has not met my dogs. And I think what happens is that we don't necessarily understand the animal kingdom. We don't necessarily understand their souls. And so if we don't understand something, we just deny it. Have you ever done that? Well, I just think about that tomorrow. It's one of my favorite. I think I said it last week. Well, I just think about that tomorrow. I don't understand it. But the neat thing about this is we're religious scientists. I was just having a conversation with a new friend that I have about why I like to be a religious scientist, about why I love the science of mind, because I can take anything and I can use the scientific method and I can make an experiment out of it. I can create a hypothesis. I can prove that hypothesis, and it's duplicatable and replicatable, and it comes out with this wonderful outcome that makes me have faith and confidence in it. And I can tell you right now that just because I don't understand the creativity of an animal, or just because I don't speak the language necessarily, or just because I can't dialogue and ask, hey, do you got a soul? How's your soul? Or, hey, what's on your mind? Like, what do you feel like creating today? Like, you want to color with me? You know these conversations we can't have with our animals? But there's a language that's unspoken, in my opinion. There's something that happens with my animals and me that we absolutely have a complete understanding. And they're very manipulative. And I find that creative. I find that very creative. So if any of you see Gary, I'd like you to put him in touch with me because I'm very quite upset and distraught over why he thinks that he can go around saying things like that on Oprah or anywhere for that matter because he is an authority. He is someone we respect, right? He's got a lot of books. Guys, you always want to question things, don't you? You want to question. You're a religious scientist. You want to prove. You want to have a certainty. You really do. So listen to this. Within each of us, and don't you forget for a minute that I'm including the entire animal kingdom and mineral kingdom and my plants and the stars. Within each of us lies the soul of the whole. Isn't that the most beautiful thing? Within each of us lies the soul of the whole. So we're all connected. Of course we are. We've proven that. We've proven that we were correlated in unity before time and space, before we ever got here. And that means the animals and everyone. That's why we love each other. That's why we miss the mark when we don't live in that oneness and we can literally create hatred and violence and as I say, condemnation, right? Right? Don't I say judgment's good so that we know where we are in relativity to each other? Discernment then is next, where we decide where we're going to go. But condemnation, we have fallen. We have missed the mark. And, Will Tuttle, who is a Zen priest, philosopher, he says that this idea of uh, who has a soul and who doesn't is an old idea. Did you know that? Raise your hand if you already knew that. Okay. He says that it harkens back to an earlier era when similar wording was used by religious leaders, Bibles in hand, proclaiming that Black people had no individual souls, that they merely had a group soul, which is what Gary Zukav is saying about the animals. The cats have a group soul with cats. Buffaloes have a group soul with buffaloes. And that they and then here's another one. Thomas Aquinas 1,000 years ago proclaimed that animals have no souls, nor do women have souls. We're throwing that. I'm throwing things today. Now, I'm sorry about that, but I'm just having a ringtail tizzy fit here. Like, come on, folks. What is a soul, and how in the world am I, a religious science minister, assigned the task of talking and defining the soul? Well, let me tell you, I'm an authority, and this is what a soul is. And here's who has it: everyone. And our souls connect us to each other in the most beautiful way. So this month we have two book of the months. We have 7,000 Ways to Listen by Mark Nepo. Both are excellent books. And the other book is The Great Work of Your Life by Stephen Cope. Now, I think for today's topic, the book The Great Work of Your Life is appropriate. I not only have been reading it, but it relates to our purpose. How do you live your dharma? How do you live your purpose? And what does that have to do with the soul? I believe that the soul has an assignment. The soul is gifted with a particular pattern a particular set of talents and gifts and skills, right? And that we come here to express our soul. We come here to express our soul. We come here to have our soul touch all souls. Because I was thinking about my daughter who lived for 5 months. It's like, well, what was her dharma? And I've told you this before. My heavens, I wrote a book. That book was translated. That book helped many, many people. I made friends from all over the world. And I'm probably a minister because of that little soul. That soul has been my guru. That soul has taught me compassion. That soul has taught me courage. That just on and on and on. So I think that we can get very judgy, you know, especially when we're experts like myself. And I want you to believe me because I've written a book. And I'm going to be on Oprah. Probably. But I don't agree with everything I'm told. I want to experiment with it. Okay? So this month we're talking about, and it says coming back into alignment with our soul, and I don't believe that. Again, I'm kind of feisty. I do not take anything with a grain of salt, apparently. I'm not supposed to have salt. It's not good for me, according to my doctor. But I think we're not realigning with our soul. We're not regrounding or coming back into alignment. Our soul doesn't go anywhere. Our mind does. Our brain does, as we've been studying, right, Doug? We've been studying in this class the difference between our mind and our brain. And our brain is a computer that is designed to decipher incoming, right? But our mind has the gift of being in access to the one mind, so we get to then discern, hey, is that incoming for my highest good? Is that the way I want to behave? Is that the way I want to think? Is that what I want to do with my time? Right? So we have this ability to take what's happening outside in our world, which our brain analyzes, and then we can take our mind, and you could say our soul, right? You could say mind, soul. You could say the mind is the divine mind. The soul, right? The soul, didn't we say? Within each of us lies the soul of the whole. So wouldn't you say then that mind, that consciousness is our soul? Because our consciousness never dies, right? And so that we're, and the soul is always ever expanding. We say the mind is ever expanding. Life is ever expanding. Oh, and then you could say life is my soul. My life is my soul. You can say my purpose is my soul. And I'm not talking about like your purpose, like what am I here to do? I'm talking about your purpose. What are you here to be? Right? There's a difference, guys, because I can do a lot of things. Oh, my heavens, I'm the busiest person I know. I can write books and I can get master's degrees and I have accomplishments up the yin yang, right? But that is not who I am. I am a perfect eminence of the beloved. I am beauty. I am wholeness. I am abundance. I am joy. I am life, light, harmony, peace. And I'm talking about not just being, but expressing my soul, expressing my life, expressing my consciousness. Bringing it into form is why we're here in this finite body. It's very exciting, this soul work. Are you with me, guys? Are you with me? I want to bring you a few different viewpoints on the soul. But before I do, you know how each Sunday I bring you one of our principles from our Declaration of Principles by Ernest Holmes? I was so excited when I picked this one. We believe in the eternality, the immortality, and the continuity of the individual soul forever and ever expanding. Mic drop. And that's it right there. We're done here. Bye-bye, everybody. No. So Gary Zukav, I want to say something nice about him, okay? Just in case he's listening. He says the soul is that part of you that existed before you were born and that will exist after you die. It's the highest, most noble part of yourself that you can reach for. And I'm just going to say to Gary, and when I go over the Rainbow Bridge, when it is my time and I move on in this life and my loved ones greet me, my puppies, my four-leggeds, my wingeds, my slitherings, they're going to be there. Ian Van Sant says the soul, I believe, is the fingerprint of God. Isn't that beautiful? That becomes a physical body. Isn't that nice? The soul is the fingerprint of God that becomes a physical body. That means it's unique, that we're unique, because no fingerprint's the same. I just think that's so wonderful. Deepak Chopra, the one I crush on, Debbie. The soul is the core of your being. It is eternal. It doesn't exist in space-time. It's a field of infinite possibilities, infinite creativity. It's your internal reference point with which you should always be in touch. Now take that word he uses, creativity. Remember, I refer to spirit in many ways, depending on what mood I'm in. But I often say creator, creating, creation, don't I? Because it's that creativity, it's that, like Doug, where did that poem come from? If it didn't come from the creator, if it didn't come from Doug's soul, if it didn't come from the mind of God, inspired in Doug. Do you see where I'm going here? That's our purpose, is to express as much spirit as we possibly can in this life, to express as much love and light and harmony and peace, and all of that is good. That's the goal here. And what we do for a living, for this, for that, for hobby, for whatever, that's wonderful as well. But that's not the deeper idea of our purpose. Debbie Ford says, to me, the soul is part of us that never dies. Again, we have that. It's who we are at our core. And it carries all the messages and the lessons that we've learned in the past, and will carry all the lessons and the messages that we will carry into the future. Now that matches my idea of DNA, because I believe there's no DNA the same either. So isn't that curious? Wouldn't you say that's God's idea of itself as a fingerprint? And that we take that with us, that information, which kind of to me proves, well, that's why we have those deja vus. That's why we kind of remember things that have happened, because it's literally our memories. That's just me. That's just me. Again, Eckhart Tolle says the soul is your innermost being, the presence that you are beyond form. The consciousness that you are beyond form, that is the soul. That is who you are in essence. So again, I'm relating this to consciousness, right? Remember, we came up with consciousness in quantum mechanics when we finally realized that subatomic particles, electrons, were literally leaping from one atomic orb to another. And where were they leaping into? Someplace that is not measurable. In other words, it defies materialism and gives us the idea of the quantum field beyond time and space, where really cool things happen, like God or whatever you call it. Michael Singer says the indwelling consciousness that watches the mind come and go. Isn't that clever? The indwelling consciousness that watches the mind come and go. I would say that's the small mind, okay? I would have said it this way. If you talk to Michael, have him come see me, I would have said it this way: the indwelling consciousness that watches our thoughts come and go. And our thoughts are often generated by our brain, right? And watches the world pass before you. You, the conscious, the consciousness, the center of being is soul. And Wayne Dwyer says the soul is the birthless, deathless, changeless part of us. I wonder where he got that idea. You think that sounds a little like Ernest Holmes? The part of us that looks out from behind our eyes and has no form. The soul is infinite, so there is no in or out of it. It is everywhere. There's no place that it is not. Sounds a lot like someone we know, doesn't it? And Jean Houston, let's give her a go round. I believe that the soul is the essence of who and what we are. I personally believe that it transcends our living this mortal coil. Go, Jean. And I think it comes with codes and possibilities and the next layers of who and what we may be. It is often a pain in the neck because it says, wake up. It's time to wake up. Don't go to sleep. I think it is also there to lure our becoming, to lure our becoming. That's what I think the soul is, she says. But notice how she says, that's what I think the soul is. She doesn't say that's what the soul is. Isn't that wonderful? I think that's what we all need to do. What do you think the soul is? This is what I think the soul is. I think that's a wonderful way of putting it. And last but not least, let's hear from Ernest Holmes. The soul is the seat of memory. Now, interesting, Gary Zukav was way after Ernest Holmes, way after Ernest Holmes. But Ernest Holmes says the soul is the seat of memory. Interesting. The mirror of mind in the individual. It is the creative power within us, creating from the patterns given it and from the memories it contains. We gather soul or subjective force as we accumulate the right kind of experiences. The law of the soul is subject to the conscious spirit. Tendencies set in motion and in the soul or subjective life tend to produce their like in the objective world. From this is deduced the possibility of the healing power of the spoken word. Woohoo! He's amazing, isn't he? So I think we have a lot to ponder, wouldn't you say? Are you with me? Do we have a lot to ponder? So guess what? We have a lot of time to ponder. We have a lot of time to spend listening to our heart and soul. Now, I think this May theme of listening to our heart gives us an opportunity to feel our feelings, because I really think that the heart, Ruth wants me to do the affirmation, but I'm going to wait on that just a minute. I love you, Ruth. It's a good affirmation. We worked on it together. So I think, and this is just my opinion, I think that the heart, and I'm not talking about the muscle, I'm talking about the essence of the heart, how we refer to the heart, is how we feel about things. It's how we, it's the culmination of our emotional and feeling body. It's how we relate to an object. So we see an object and we react to an object, and that reaction itself then is an invitation to feel. And we get to define that. Well, that feels kind of, that feels kind of yucky. That feels good. I like that feeling. That doesn't feel so good. So I think for May, interesting enough, is that we have this opportunity to listen to our heart. And I was just listening to Brene Brown. She did a podcast that was so extraordinary if you have any opportunity to listen to her. And she says, if you're not feeling anxious during this pandemic, I don't think you're paying attention. And I think that what we're not, I think, okay, let me just say I statements are much more powerful. And I personally don't like to be talked at. I do not like anyone saying we or you. Because as soon as someone says you know what I do. Not me. That no, I want to talk about that. No, I see it in a different way. Oh my goodness. I love myself. But anyway, she says, that we need to say it. We need to talk about it. If we don't talk about what's really up for us, we hide behind this armor, if you will. Have you ever done that? You hide behind this armor, right? And then you don't grow into the gifts that you are given in this life. And I think she's a professor, a researcher, scientist who studies shame and vulnerability. She loves to go to parties and tell, when people ask her, hey, what do you do? Oh, I study shame. And of course, they're like, be right back. And, right? And, but she's saying, talk about it. She's saying that, that in our primary families, we learn how to deal with anxiety. I thought this was very interesting. And she says it's not only how you learn to deal with it in your primary family, but it's also your birth order. This is her scientific analysis of her research. What I love science that way. She says some are over functioning, become controlling, bossing everyone around, and telling people what to do and how to feel. Micromanaging. And some are under functioning, don't show up, are less capable, and not dependable. I'm just wondering how you're feeling about any of that. Of course, all of these things, Myers-Briggs, am I an introvert? Am I an extrovert? Am I over-functioning? Am I under-functioning? And me, I'm a little bit of both. It depends. It depends on the weather. It depends on who wants to chain me in, who wants to pigeonhole me. If you want to pigeonhole me there, well, I'm going to go over there and I'm going to fly in that coop, right? But what's interesting is that anxiety, she says, is contagious. Anxiety is contagious. And we can catch it from other people or other situations. She says that the most wonderful news is that calm is also contagious. And so we can actually catch that from others. This is a pandemic. There's a lot going around that we can catch. And so I'm thinking that I would like my soul to experience calm. I would like to catch this contagious experience of calm so that I can neutralize my anxiety. Anyone felt any, now be careful, because remember she said, if you don't feel anxiety, you're not paying attention. So how many of us have felt anxiety during the pandemic? Okay, good job. Good job. Everybody raised their hand. You're listening. Very good. Some of her helpful hints, which I think are great, is she says that we can practice calm. I am starting a list of spiritual practices, because one thing I have felt in the pandemic is that I'm in this monastery. I'm alone, and well, except for my dogs, those girls with souls. I'm alone and I feel like I have been sequestered in a monastery, in a retreat where I am left to my own device. And if I actually told you what I did with my time, my armor would drop. I would be vulnerable and probably more able to experience calm. So I might waste some time. Has anyone wasted any time during the pandemic just sitting there going, wow, wow? And has anyone gotten things done that you didn't expect you'd ever get done? Yes, yes. We hold multiple truths simultaneously, don't we? But what I charge all of us with this month is this great opportunity to listen to our heart. And I'm going to add, listen to our heart and soul, because the soul knows. And if the heart is feeling wonderful, great, calm, that's awesome. Write that down and figure out how to get more of that. Like, what am I doing at the time I'm feeling calm? Am I gardening? Am I getting some of that vitamin D out there? Am I taking a walk? Am I exercising? Or, am I over here feeling anxiety? Listen to that. Honor that. Know that everyone who is paying attention is feeling the spectrum of feelings, right? Talk about it. Be honest about it. Let your defenses down. Understand that you're such a beautiful being of light, and you're also here as a human being, right? With only skin to keep you from bleeding all over the place. It's this thin layer of skin that keeps us together. What was God thinking? Between that and the avocado seed being so big. Anyway, I've got a list of questions. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about how we're feeling about things. And let's talk about, are we doing what our soul would love us to be doing? Are we being what our soul is here to be? Brene Brown says, listen with the same passion you would listen for wanting to be heard. Listen with the same passion for wanting to be heard. So let's listen to one another. We have a lot of opportunity. We have 2 classes a week. We have gatherings on Wednesday that we're going to be sharing with you. We have a gathering for an hour on Friday night. We have fellowship after this service where you just stay put and then you get to unmic yourselves. Let's share with one another what's going on with us, and let's share with each other that dream that we have for our lives, even if it hasn't come true yet, because you know the power of your word. You know this. She says and suggests, ask for what you need. How many of you ask for what you need? Guys, let's take that armor down. How many of you ask for what you need? Can we practice this? Can we practice this? Be patient with yourself and others. Be patient, right? And be careful about this, the experts that are peddling facts. Be careful, guys. And remember that you can be just like me and take these experts who write these books and go, wait a minute, no. That is not, no. And the other thing we can do is exercise. We can't go to the gym, but boy, there's a lot going out there on how we can exercise. And remember, this is May. Now the weather's getting nice. We can get out there. We can enjoy moving our bodies. And the last thing that I want to, this is not Brene Brown, this is Sharon Dunn. We can indulge in spiritual practice. Yada, yada, yada. I know, don't I say that every week? How about this spiritual practice? And really, practicing calm is our new spiritual practice. And practicing calm can't happen if we are all bottled up with anxiety. We've got to pull that armor down, right? We've got to share. Oh boy, this is really freaking me out. This is really, this, I'm going to put this out here right now. I need to get over to the park where the bald eagles are in Lake Natoma with my camera. I need that. Now, I'm not doing that because I am modeling shelter in place, but I need to get over there and see those birds. I need to do my practice of contemplative photography and set up camp right in front of that, well, as close as I can get to that nest and then I have my 600 millimeter lens, and I need to focus my attention on the extraordinary soul of the bald eagle, because that soul transference will happen for me. That soul transference. Well, I think I've said just about enough, haven't I? And I think that we, as Thomas Troward would say, the soul itself is a reflection and image of the infinite spirit. You are a reflection of the infinite spirit. And we together are connected as soul to soul. We are connected with our Mother Earth, soul to soul. We are connected with the air we breathe. The air has a soul. The trees have souls. And I love your souls so much. Let us pray. So you can put your prayer in the chat. If you put your prayer in the chat, we will pray for a week on your request. And if you put your prayer on our Ministry of Prayer on our website, you will have the same support for a week. So, guys, prayer works. Be sure to take advantage of the spiritual practice of prayer. So I know that there's a power in a presence. It is the whole. It is the whole. Called by many names. Yahweh, Allah, the Great Spirit, avatars like the Christ, Buddha, Krishna. It is called light and love and harmony and peace and joy, and all that is good. Because as we say, it is infinite, immortal, eternal. So it cannot be opposed. There's no duality in it. It is one spirit. And it then, out of itself, creates creation. It takes its thumbprint and impresses on each individual soul all of itself. And so that each individual soul is that love and light and life and harmony and peace and joy. It is that individual expression of the whole is creative. It is creative. It creates out of itself, out of the one mind, its purpose, its soul design, its soul purpose, its gifts. And so I claim right now, claim and declare that awareness and awakening that I am my sole purpose, that every day I wake up committed, delighted, open, and willing to express more of my sole purpose. That is my reason for being. I call my sole purpose love. That love is absolutely the portal and doorway to all my good. I'm a loving, beautiful spirit. I am the eminence of the one. And I create love. I shine light. I express joy. I am perfect, complete, and whole. And I know that for each one of us. I know that for each one of us in this city of Sacramento. I know that for each person in this state of California, in the country of the United States of America, in the world, in every galaxy, in every universe. There is no place where I stop and another starts. There's only one power, one presence. And I am so grateful to know that this prayer is answered. I release my word into the law that knows exactly what to do. I don't have to know how God does God's work. I just know it is so. And please affirm with me as we say, and so it is. And so it is. And Ruth is going to tell us a little bit about our guest musician today.
I'm excited to introduce some new artists to our center. Gypsy Soul will be performing with us in person in the future, but today we have the pleasure to hear a sweet